Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Digital Explorator Show, an exclusive conversation with some of the brilliant minds in Web3, AI, and content creation. I'm Max, a digital entrepreneur that started my digital journey in e-commerce and now is all in Web3 and AI. Speaking of all in, today I had the privilege to be with an amazing poker player, I believe, an actor in the Web3, co-founder of a Web3 agency built by Web3 native and on the crypto space since 2017. Today, he's growing and raising his company or his companies to be one of the biggest one in the Web3 space. Carlito, hello, my friend. How are you today?
GM Max, it's a real pleasure to be here and talk to you. I know that we've been in GMs and in our messages for months, if not years. So it's a real pleasure to kickstart this conversation and be here with you today.
Yeah. Speaking of GMs, are you still GMing? Because I muted the word on Twitter, so I don't know if some people are GMing still.
Yeah, I was reading as well this week all over Twitter or X, how they call it today, that basically some people are stopping GMing because apparently that is harming your engagement and thus your reach. But to me, this is basically how I started on crypto Twitter, and I realized that it is the easiest tool probably to stay up to date, to stay connected, to reach out to people. And through the GM, you also often have a gateway to their timeline, to the stuff that they post and the content. So it is probably the easiest post of the day that you can put out without much thought. And for most of the people, it will be the most engaged post they put out during the day. So I think it is a very easygoing approach to, be out there, show yourself, and have a human face.
Yeah, it's a valid take. I burnt out on GMs on myself, so I don't have time to I can't reply to them, and I'm saying to myself, oh, I'm not gonna post GM anymore. Speaking of X, on your pin tweet, and as I know, you had your first account deleted. First of all, can you explain to the audience what happened, and then on the second part of the explanation, how do you feel to have no power recovering your account?
Yeah, sure. So as you can imagine, building a social media presence, your own brand in a span of almost 2 years, and then receiving an email, an automated email by Twitter saying that your account was flagged by mistake by a bot and that you can appeal, basically, if you want it back and if you're not a bot. This was the first
Oh,
message I got. I was like, oh, wow, doesn't
well,
sound
yeah.
too good. And I've seen like weeks before all over my timeline that friends were disappearing, being kicked off without any reasoning or any explanation. Then
Crazy.
within 1 hour, I appealed and I was like, hey, look, like I wrote an email and I was like, none of this is true. Like I'm a human being. It's hard to prove that you are a human being, but let me try to. I explained it. And then I was lucky enough that a human person saw that email and replied to me. And that statement was basically that my account was flagged by mistake by a bot and that here is my account back. I can behave completely normally and basically continue as nothing ever happened. I
Oh,
panicked a little bit,
yeah.
but I was surprisingly happy. And then I went to bed, woke up, posted my GM, and within the second or third reply, I was suspended again, and I got the
Oh
same
my
email.
God.
And then I basically appealed. I think since 1st of October, I appealed more than 50 times, 50 emails, different languages, different accounts, and you get nothing but the same automated reply back. So the customer service is horrible, to say the least.
It's it's funny because I had the same experience back in November, but with Amazon. So with Kindle, my account was suspended, and it's not the same thing. So I had not like 10,000 followers because this is
Hmm.
you cannot price it. But I had maybe 3,000 euros worth in books. So I was like, yo, why are you suspending my account, my Kindle account, where I just purchased so many books? So, how do you feel regarding this, regarding the centralized platform? Since we are in Web3,
Yeah.
how do you feel to have no power in those kind of accounts and just disappear by just, you know, in one day
Yeah.
from one
I
day
mean,
to another?
obviously and very blatantly, it's not a great feeling.
Yeah,
Luckily enough, I have other businesses and other like things to keep me busy with during the day. But if this were to be my sole income, and then you get eradicated without any chance of appealing or talking to a person or like a phone number, anything human, it gives you a very weird feeling, like a feeling of impotence and being a no one out of everyone in this world. And this is probably one of the most annoying feelings that you can have, right? Because you don't know what you did, you don't get an explanation, you don't get any foresight of how to avoid it in the future or whatever. Basically, the only conclusion is disappear, like that's it, I'm done, or create a new account. I know that there are other decentralized platforms competing with Instagram and X and the likes, but the problem with them is that most people don't use them, and
Yeah.
you need to be where the cloud is. So what good is it if I have a decentralized platform that guarantees me that this won't ever happen, but instead of the hundreds of millions of users that the other platforms provide, they maybe have 1.2 million users. So
Yeah.
the reach that you have on those platforms is negligent.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But maybe we can have a digital identity, and keeping your followers attached to your life. But anyway, we're gonna talk about this later on. Um, how 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 motivated were you when you said to yourself, okay, I need to start back a new account, a new Twitter account? Like
Um,
devastated, like starting back the grind from 0 followers and grinding back. How did you how did you process it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's probably the different stages of grief, right? Similar as when you lose a beloved human being or anything, you go through different stages of how you deal with your emotions. And luckily enough for me, during most of these stages, I was surrounded by a group of very loving and caring people. Most of them are part of the Ascent family or even the founders, Donna and Atterberg. And it really helps if you have people around you telling you, hey, this is just a number and you are so much more than just that number, right? That doesn't define you. You are the same person with or without that amount of followers. And in a way or another, it really helps that you did that once, right? You know how to do it. It's obviously annoying, but it won't take me again 2 years, I guess, to get to almost 15K followers. So
Okay.
it is
Yeah.
annoying, but if you are surrounded by the right people, and luckily I was, as mentioned, through Ascent as well, we have a group chat with, I believe, more than 140 people. All of these people instantly reposted my pinned post, like reached out to other people, follow Carlitos. All of
Yeah.
this is an immense push that you don't have if you start from zero completely.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And did it hurt maybe the Ascent dynamic? We got the macro dynamic, not just your
Hmm.
spaces, all those kind of stuff. But did it hurt a little bit?
Obviously, it hurt. Like
Okay.
my account was probably the main driver to generate
Mm,
leads and
mm,
customers and thus business. And if that account disappears and the main driver is gone, you need to find other streams and other
yeah.
ways to get out there. So we did that, but obviously it was a dump that we had to deal with as well. And probably another good example, right?
Mm,
Many people often think, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, your life is so easy, but it's exactly the opposite, and especially at the beginning, right? You know this yourself. You plan A, B happens, and then you need to do C. So it is very good to have plans, but be ready to adapt during the way.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Speaking of X, so for those who don't know, the Ascent space are every weekdays at noon. I mean, why did you start with the space? Because I believe it's now you're doing it for 1 year consistency, right?
We started Ascent in June last year,
In June,
2023,
okay.
so it's going to be a year soon. We started hosting daily spaces pretty early, I think by July. And the idea, the way behind it is also we provide daily news, daily headlines, and a daily prepared newsletter with in-depth knowledge about what happened on that given day. The idea
Okay.
for the space is basically for that knowledge about the news to be comprised in a verbal way and to transmit it as well to people. And we figured that spaces is probably one of the best ways to go out there, to build communities, to build real connections, and to actually listen to people, right? Many people I experienced as well go around the world, not just in Web3. They talk, 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 but rarely listen. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things of being able to host your own space. You are in power, you are responsible as well for the quality that you put out there. So all these things push us to strive to become better every day.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I have two questions that came up to my mind because you said, yeah, you were pretty early into the space meta. It's not meta, but it's like being consistent in space. My first question is, did you get any inbound regarding clients, with spaces?
Yes, we did. So we
Oh,
definitely had people that jumped on, not necessarily on stage as speaker, but that came in as listeners and tried to, find out what we do, how we do it. And I'm of a very strong conviction that if you do what you like and you do that with passion, people will realize that and they will take you for real and they will, in one way or another, aim to associate themselves with you. So that's the beauty. If you don't fake it, if you are a real person out there, people will realize it. And even if it's not necessarily, okay, I want to post news, but the guys see that you are out there every day having skin in the game, putting information out, educating people. And it, in a way, is the very first step of marketing for that for us. Yeah.
that's interesting. And yeah, a lot of people are doing spaces, but they don't necessarily like it. And it's like me back in the days, wanted to do some content creation, writing content creation, where I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I prefer to animate spaces and podcasts and all this kind of stuff. And I've seen also on your space you had sponsors.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit more? How did your first sponsor came, and how does it happen? Do they DM you? How does it go?
Yeah. So for that project, it's actually called That Generates, and it's founded by an artist friend of us that is also part of the Ascent family. And thus, the connection at the beginning was, I would say, relatively easy. We aimed at the collaboration, and then we had a couple of talks, and then we were like, okay, we can give you this, and this is how we're going to push forward with the collaboration. And I think so far we're all happy. This is the very first sponsor of Ascent as well, so it hasn't even been, it has been 1 full week, to be honest. And the project is planned to go out to mint in roundabout start of March. So let's see how this goes the next couple of 4, 5, 6 weeks. But definitely, I think so far it's a mutual beneficial relationship that we have with the Generates and with Aesthetica there as well.
I see. That's interesting. Well, I mean, the dream of the space, if I can say, would be that you have a lot of inbound regarding clients and
Mhm.
also some sponsors and get some more revenues regarding it, right? Is that the goal of it?
Yeah, I mean, 100% in the end, everything that we do as Ascent represents the company, right? And in a more broadened way can generate leads. So I know, for example, that you had in your show as well another couple of legends from our space, be it Kermit, be it Leon, and these guys with every single post that they put out there, be it written or be it video, they transmit a message, right? They try to convey something that they nail it down to the core essence. And I think this is extremely important.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with this.
And what you
And
mentioned before with the
yeah,
video, I remember like the previously alpha where it was like everybody now needs to go and do live video because this is going to be huge on Twitter. I believe this was around about the time also when you started like half a year ago. I tried it too, but it wasn't for me. Like I don't feel comfortable recording myself, my own face day in and day out.
I,
Right?
I remember it when you were running. I think it was. I remember this video of you. I think it was 6 a.m. and you were running right in Barcelona. I think.
Yeah, no,
And
it was here in home in Malta, but
okay,
definitely we had a running challenge, and
yeah,
I combined both, like going out, having some sports, and putting myself on camera. But as mentioned, didn't enjoy it as much as I probably should have to continue that. But happy that I tried.
yeah, yeah. It's always good to try. And on my side, I love videos, but I struggle to edit them and take time to edit them. So, yeah. Are you still running, by the way?
Yeah, I've been a little bit lazy the last couple of
Oh.
weeks, especially didn't get back yet from the Christmas, New Year's
Hmm.
feast, but definitely planning on going back to shape.
Okay. Any goals regarding sport, and then back to the business?
Yeah, so I definitely plan on doing sports on a daily basis, be it running or tennis, or I enjoy boxing every now and so often as well. It's an amazing training.
Amazing. Amazing. And speaking of videos, video content, as you see, X is now promoting live. What do you think, first of all, of the future of spaces? And do you think live will completely disrupt spaces in the future? What's your take on this?
Interesting question. I think we've all, or like everybody that moves around daily or weekly basis on Twitter, we've seen that there is more and more video content being put out there. A couple of friends of mine that do spaces parallelly on the same time, they record themselves on video and stream that live. Again, I don't think this is something for everybody, but if you enjoy putting yourself in front of a camera and like talking to people like you do, for example, I think it's a genius approach with direct communication. And if on top of your voice, you can show your face and like your emotions, how you're feeling right now, it is definitely a more direct form of communication that will be bigger and bigger in the future.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And would you be ready to pivot from spaces, daily spaces to live, or would you stick to spaces with Ascent?
I think it depends. So maybe in the future we can think about having some kind of a YouTube channel or anything where you report the news with your face and give it in more in-depth detail. To be honest, we're not there yet, but this is something like a long-term dream of mine, that you have some kind of a Bloomberg platform reporting the news, constantly breaking the news. Like, it would be a dream of mine, but it is a very long way to get there and a lot of work.
Indeed, we know how 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 the entrepreneur life is so fascinating and hard at the same time.
Because I
Since
think
yeah,
No, I think one of the most important things if you put yourself out there is being consistent. And if you don't manage to
definitely.
do that on a consistent basis, be it daily or weekly or monthly, you will not attract a huge audience and leads. So
Yeah,
try to
that's
combine that with what you like, and then you will succeed.
that's what I'm telling to a lot of new entrepreneurs that are trying to start the businesses and they want also to start the content creation. So I'm just telling them, whenever you want to start going on social medias,
Yeah,
do a pact with your life, because it's a never-ending thing, and it's so interesting on one hand, but on the other hand, you're gonna need to be here every single day or every single week, depending on the format. My question, um, since there's some listeners that are new to the X platform, also to the space Twitter, what would be the free tips to start your space or to join spaces? Like, because a lot of people, you shoot them, they are like, oh, I'm scared to talk, I'm scared to create my own show. So what would be the first step to start Web3 space, for instance?
yeah, another very good question. And I think you gave the first point there yourself. So before you start hosting your space, go out there and listen to your friends' spaces, go to bigger spaces, make notes. What do they do good? Like, what do you like from that? Would you do that in a similar way? What would you do differently? And then from there, you start getting an idea, right? Okay, this is how my show is going to look like. This is how I want it to look like. And then in there, it goes hand in hand with what we were saying previously already. So you need to be your own self. You need to definitely listen more if you host a space than you talk, because you need to be able to manage any kind of discussion, right? And not necessarily be the one chipping in with the best points. So I think this is two extremely important skills. And this third one I would try to strive for is speak less, but provide more value. So again, I've seen this or I've heard this in a lot of spaces, that many people come and rant for minutes and minutes and minutes, and they could have said the same thing with one or two sentences, right? So be cautious of other people's time and be respectful with that. And I think from there, it's a steep learning curve, and you will improve space by space.
Yeah, I can only agree with this, because that's the one guideline of the space, of every space I hosted: avoid monologue. Like,
Yeah,
people are just, don't talk about your life, just go straight to the point. And that's how space should work. Otherwise, you lose listeners, you
yeah,
lose also speakers that are not listening actively to you. So yeah, it's hurting the space. So even if space hosts are listening to this, watch out to softly
Yeah.
interrupt. And that's the hardest part. I think we can point a little bit this into your host also. What would be your best tip? Just a question for me actually. What would be the best tip to interrupt softly someone that is, saying too much?
I think it goes with your education and your morals as well, right? How would you do that in real life? If somebody jumps on stage and starts shilling their project, this is obviously not a very classy way to introduce yourself to the stage. So that kind of person you can more or less directly mute and be more directly and show them the way off the stage. And if it's, let's say, a more closer person or closer to the actual topic, some people actually have issues expressing themselves in very short sentences, right? So get a feeling for that. Don't necessarily cut everybody whenever you feel like it, because it doesn't feel right on the other side to be cut in half, right? But keep those things in mind and try to find the balance that I mentioned before. And then I think you can go a long way as a host. And if needed, don't shy away from cutting anybody or muting them.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's the all mute button on the host. So yeah, I completely agree with this. But sometimes some hosts are don't feel like to interrupt people, but it's hurting the space. I'm telling them. So yeah, you're right. Interrupt them. It's your show in the end.
Yeah, and maybe also in the long term, right? After you hosted a couple of spaces, of course, there will every now and then people be coming and going that you've never seen. But if you've had the experience from, let's say, person A coming to your stage and having a very bad microphone connection or giving very low quality input, then why are you bringing that person back up again, right? Those things are on you. So make sure that with every single minute and time that you spend in the spaces, that you learn, that you try to connect the dots and make yourself like a bullet point list in your head of any given person, and then that will help you act anyway quicker.
Yeah, 100%. So we spoke a lot about X, and we're gonna maybe dive more into your businesses, and because there's not only X on in the world, right? There's so many social platforms, so many social medias, so many ways to communicate, so many ways to promote your projects and your businesses. So speaking about, let's focus into the Web3 Ascent. You have some presence on newsletter. You have presence on Instagram, LinkedIn. You have a website. You have X, of course. What are your thoughts on your different platforms, and what will be your strategy in the future, in the next 6 months, let's say, to promote our Web3 Ascent into maybe other platforms than X?
Yeah, again, a very great question. So I think X, Twitter, is definitely the main platform for everything revolving around crypto. Be it DeFi, be it NFTs, be it whatever sub bubble that you go into, you need to be on X. Then I guess my personal experience with X, losing an account and all of this, definitely pushes you towards being multi-platform, right? So you should not depend on one single centralized platform that holds all the power within them. And if they decide to kick you, you're gone. For that reason, relatively early, we started with a newsletter that you can subscribe and receive daily to your inbox, which is a complete different way and even more direct than X to deliver information to any given person that is interested. So that we will definitely continue to do in the future and hopefully grow that as well. I believe we are at around about 250 subscribers to that daily open it, which I think is nice as well. It's not super huge, but it's nice. For Instagram, we try to share the newsletter and the daily prices there as well. It's a slightly different audience, I would say less Web3 native, but nonetheless a very great tool to bring some eyes to Ascent, to Web3, to more normie people, if you want to call it like this. And then, of course, LinkedIn is and always was the main hub for business in all kind of online platforms. And we've been waiting with it for a couple of months, I would say, but we started recently with LinkedIn, and I will emphasize there as well with my personal account, where I have, I think, over 1,000 followers as well, what we do, why we do it, what benefits might there be for a Web2 business or even individuals to enter our space, and how we as Ascent can help you grow and make a respectable name and brand out of yourself or your business.
It's funny that you have so many questions regarding what you said. First of all, do you automate this daily newsletter? What I mean is the following: during a newsletter and sending it every day might be challenging, and I'm pretty sure it is. Do you are you using any automation AI stuff to help you on the daily basis, or is it 100% human work?
Yeah. So we obviously have the templates and the visuals and everything ready. Then we have a couple of sites that we check on a daily basis. But in the end, it is manual human work what we put in there in order to
Wow.
guarantee that the quality is so high. Because if we would automate it, we tried it, and there is certain bots and programs and AI that can help you with that. It works, but it is not the same yet. So I believe it is extremely important to stay up to date with the tech. Try to automate what you can, but only where it makes sense. So only where it will level up what you already did. And
I
we
love it.
experienced that it would be a little loss of quality in that regard. And for that reason, we decided not to do it yet with the AI.
I love it. I love it. And you mentioned that you wanted to focus on 2024 on LinkedIn. And that's funny because there's other people that I interviewed, Leon, I think it was also Alex's building, that want to focus on LinkedIn for 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a video of Gary Vee. It was in the end of 2023. He said basically the main platforms that will blow up will be LinkedIn and YouTube Shorts and TikTok, obviously. So I'm curious, like, what are your goals regarding the LinkedIn thing? Do you want to, as we know, as many people in Web3 Twitter are saying for LinkedIn, post on LinkedIn, and I should connect with you. I think I'm connected with you on LinkedIn. But the thing is the following: is that if we bring a lot of Web3 people from Twitter to LinkedIn, then we can shift this from a cringy thing to something that is better, according to me. So what would be your strategy regarding LinkedIn? You said it regarding Web3Ascend and focus on Web3Ascend, but would you take it like more like X, or would you adapt to the LinkedIn thing?
So the way I see it, LinkedIn is basically a bigger cake, right? If you check Twitter, there is, I believe, round about the last figure that I have in my mind is 50,000 active wallets trading NFTs. That's almost nothing compared to the people there are in the world. So just by putting out one post on LinkedIn and the established connections that I have from Web2 businesses and from my normal network, right? That alone can generate up to 1,000 new eyes on Ascent, on Web3, right? People that might not be as aware of the space as we are, or that don't have any skin in the game, are not invested in Bitcoin and crypto and so on. So for these kind of people, most of them looking for a job, offering work, they are on LinkedIn. They're not going to come to X and look for you and ask you to, hey, can you develop a Web3 strategy for me? Can you help me launch my NFT project like XYZ? For all these things, I believe we as an agency like Leon, like Kermit, like these guys, we need to go out and we need to be where the customer is. And thus, LinkedIn is probably the best bet there is for 2024, and why so many people are pursuing the same strategy.
That's interesting. By the way, quick tip, not sure if you know it. On your company page, you have 250 credits monthly for free, where you can connect a lot of people every month. And you have this credit that refresh every month. So it's a tip from someone that I know that is working in LinkedIn B2B growth. So if you want to use them, use them because it's free and it's super overpowered. My question now, since we talk a lot about Leon and the Unfungible team, do you consider Web3Ascend as a direct competitor of Unfungible? So for the listeners, it's basically two Web3 marketing agency.
Good question. I've talked with both of them about that and with other people as well. In the end, we're all going for the same thing, right? So I don't see this as competition. I see this rather as complementary work, because these guys do a lot of things that Ascent doesn't do. We do a lot of things that they don't do. Like I have other agencies that specialize solely on key opinion leaders and providing them to that. So I think you can go a very long way with collaboration, and I prefer to see the world like that rather than competing for the same things. So wherever we can, we help other agencies, other people, and we want the space in general to succeed and to move forward.
That's you have a great source, Carlito. Always, like always. Um, but if I push the question a little bit further, let's say the unfungible, when we see them, we immediately we assign them to the space guys. They are promoting through space, and they are doing spaces, so we know that they are good at spaces. What about Web3 Ascent? If there was one word or one thing that we could give the strength to?
Yeah, I think we are a multi-division marketing agency. So we don't focus solely on spaces. We don't focus solely on content creation. We don't focus solely on hype and the collaboration with KOLs. So we aim to be a one-stop solution for all kinds of things. And if the customer, for example, wants to have a space with 1,000 people, this is nothing we have on a daily basis, right? Then obviously we're going to reach out to the bigger guys. Hey, can you come and join us? So this is a little bit where I see the place of Ascent, that we can do a lot of things very good, but we are not an expert in any given one. So this is also, funnily enough, how I grew up and how I understand the world of business, that you need to be able to do a lot of things very, very good, and that's better than being perfect at just one.
Yeah, I agree. So marketing 360, like we said in the Web2 agency, that's what we said actually at my previous agency stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, if you start dissecting it, right, it goes hand in hand. So the spaces
Yeah,
is a way of marketing, generating leads. We don't do any traditional marketing in that way. We don't do Google SEO or SEA or that kind of things. So all in all, it is like a master plan that goes hand in hand.
now let's dive into how to get leads, how to get clients, because the people who are listening, they are starting the businesses or starting their journey as a content creator. And from my experience, when you're starting into Web3, a lot of people will say you need to grind onto personal branding, which I understand is sometimes long. Sometimes people are not ready to be content creators, or they don't want to be content creators. So my question will be the following: what will be a good strategy to get clients for your business without starting a personal branding journey?
Good question again. So I believe that the easiest that you can communicate complicated subjects, right, such as how to generate a lead, if you can put that in a couple of sentences with a real life example and post about this on a routinely basis, people will come to you and people will realize, oh, okay, this is the guy actually that is the best content creator out there on Twitter, even if you may not be. But causing that impression can go a very long way. So make sure that you find your niche, and that within that niche you understand what you're talking about, and then you become an expert, and people magically are attracted to people that know what they're talking about. So I think that's the easiest way to generate leads, that you understand what you're talking about and that you are a straightforward person and don't really aim to go in a shortcut way.
Yeah, that's a good take, because taking that niche, a lot of people are trying multiple niches. I did this,
Yeah.
and you get lost in the end. So if I rephrase what you're doing is take a specific niche and dive into it, even if you don't like it anymore in 2 weeks. You need to focus into it. Is that what you're mentioning? You advise people to stay in that niche and to be really good at that niche, even if you think it's not a good niche?
I mean, you can obviously go and expand beyond that niche, but if you go, for example, again, we're mentioning them a lot, but look at Leon, for example, right? The guy now after I don't know how many hundreds of videos, is known to be out there on Twitter on a daily basis and put out a video that explains you some kind of marketing approaches and techniques behind all of that. I find them very informational, and I think most people do too. For Kermit, for example, it's the case with the animations and the Kermification, if you want to call it like this, where he basically builds his own IP and is more known for that part, right? So I think that is important, that you have your niche there, and then you can go out and expand beyond that and become an expert, as mentioned previously, in other areas as well, and don't rely solely on that one.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. And if I want to start my journey as a content creator, I see a lot of people who are starting into ghostwriting. My question is, is there any job rather than ghostwriting where I can aim to go to when I start my content creation journey in Web3?
Good question as well. So I believe that most people don't start actually with content creation, because for that you need to be out there and have either very good writing already or a name out there. So from what I have seen in the space, most people start out as Discord mods, for example, where you take out or you take over easy tasks, right? You have to communicate within the different levels of the organization and with the community and all of that. And then if you find your niche and you write consistently about stuff that you like, this can lead you to become a ghostwriter for other people. But there is many ways, many approaches that you can actually find and land your first job in Web3. I know for people that make a lot of money actually just from memes and GIFs, right? So if that's your niche, if you are a graphic designer or any of the kind, you don't need to be out there and writing if that's not your strong part, right? So find out what that is. Necessarily, it doesn't need to be writing. You can also just record yourself with the camera and land a job with that. So all these things and paths are possible, and I wouldn't go in that regard to tackle this like, okay, Whale and 3-5 other big guys, they're so big because they wrote threads. So yeah, that's true. That might have worked for them, but it might not work for you, right? So don't focus on the writing if that's not your forte, would be my advice for that.
Yeah, and they, according to, speaking of he managed to do this thing because it was the meta of trends back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how he blew out his following account, following count. Sorry. So yeah, I think it's also interesting to tell to people who are listening to understand the trends and meta and do what you're good at while sliding the meta. Are you agreeing with this or not at all?
I agree with this, but keep in mind, right, that not everybody will also have the luck that somebody like Whale had. You need to
Yeah.
be, it's a weird combination how people succeed in life. It's not all luck, it's not all your own skill, and it's not all moment. Sorry. And it's not all momentum. So it's a weird combination of those three things in life. I've seen many people actually that write equally great threads like Whale in this example, but they don't have the recognition, the following he has. So
Yeah.
start dissecting why that happened to that given person, or why not. If you listen to NFT God, Alex Finn, back in the day, it was a similar story, right? The guy, I think, had 3 or 4 newsletters, like 3 or 4 different accounts where he was creating content about other things. And then it was NFTs in the end where he blew up and he became a successful person. So it might not necessarily work for everybody. Keep that in mind. And it is anything but a given that you become a successful and an influential person just because you're good at writing the same opinion, or they like it, but you don't get the recognition. So keep all these things in mind and make sure that you have a healthy mind frame where you can work with all of this. And yeah, make sure that you don't get too emotionally attached to those numbers, because I think in the long term, that's not good for you.
Definitely. Don't get attached to those numbers. Speaking of NFTs, since we're in the Web3 space, what is the thing that excites you the most into the Web3? Because the thing is, when we talk about Web3 to a lot of people, even people who are in the space, the one thing that they think about is crypto speculation, quick win, gain grow bags, and all those kind of things. On your side, since you are here since 2017, what is the thing that ignites your soul every day when you wake up?
So that probably is also a multi-layered question. How I found my way into crypto in the first place was not because of the tech. Like, I'm not a very technical guy. I can't code. I can't do most of the geeky things. I found my way into all of this through geopolitical and like monetary thinking. I am not happy at all with how our governments deal with fiat and all these things in the monetary system as we know. And thus, I believe crypto delivered one way out of all of this. Let's see how it plays out. Hopefully, the bigger picture, the scam from Satoshi Nakamoto, works out in the end and we all become freer. Then Web3, NFTs, it started all with a big promise and big hype. And even though most people will tell you they didn't, I'm of the strong conviction that most of them ended up in this space wanting to make money, right? So once the prices started plummeting and all of this, you've seen a lot of projects vanish where there was nothing behind the project other than the hype and the founders trying to make money. And most of them ended up rugging people in the space. So all of this is not good, right? And a lot of people got burned and they will probably not come back to Web3 and our sphere in general. Yet, on the same time, over the last year and a half during the bear market, you've seen projects like the Pudgy Penguins, like the Chimpers, like the Seppi Seals that have been relentlessly building and trying to provide quality to the space, right? Be it just with fun, with mini games, or be it with new tech, or like new ways to engage with the community, IRL meetings, all of this, I think will push the space forward and will bring us all closer together in a hopefully more decentralized and closely connected world.
That's interesting. Do you like how, so right now we are in a cycle, so it's end of January when we are recording this. We are seeing a cycle of bull that is coming back. And I went to different Discord and I could see the same quality of message that I had back in 2021, 2020, when it was the farming Discord meta. Do you like the way that NFTs are going right now? Because on my side, I want to educate people and then let them understand that NFT is more than just vibing, flexing, flipping. It's solving actually some problems in real life. So, but a lot of people that are currently in the Web3 space, they don't want this. They want their own bag, and they are kind of selfish regarding this. So I'm curious about your opinion regarding this. Do you like the way how NFT is, which is hype and all those kind of stuff? Or would you like something else?
Short question, no, I don't like it. Longer question, I think there is subcategories of all kinds of NFTs, right? So if you go for a profile picture, the PFP one, those are probably the ones most hyped and where people come pump and dump the project. And if you're not inside of these spheres, you're mostly left holding the bag. Then you have art NFTs, which are completely detached from that. And most people buying into that, in my opinion, are real collectors. And in most cases, more educated and with deeper pockets. So that also makes a huge difference. And on the other side, you have memberships clubs, right? Like Flyfish from Gary Vee, where your NFT grants you exclusive access to any given restaurant or club or whatever be it. I have NFTs, for example, as well that are certificates from 6529. He offered a university course with Nicosia, educating people about the blockchain, Web3, and all of that. And if you concluded that, he airdropped you an NFT to any given wallet that you chose. And with that, you can prove, okay, this is me, Carlitos. I've been there, I attended it, and I actually passed the final exam successfully. So there is multiple categories of NFTs, what you can use them for. I believe we have only scratched the surface with that. We will see many, many more use cases, new use cases developed for all of that. and it will be an exciting future, and the tech is there to stay, in my opinion.
Do you have like three best NFT projects all combined? Maybe not only PFPs, not the most well known. Like, what are your three best NFT projects that you like the most?
Yeah. So here you can see one already, the Pudgy Penguins.
Yeah,
That's a PFP. Obviously, I mentioned the Chimpers, the Happy Seals. Those are also all PFP collections. From the art side, probably the Squiggles is my
yeah,
favorite one. Like I really, from a very early time, I collected one, and I'm closely attached to that one. So I like it for the sake of being art, and also that connection somehow symbolizes something OG for me from the space. Uh,
yeah.
there is a lot of collections and a lot of answers that probably you will get from all kinds of different people. Um, but that's it in brief from my side. So I'm heavily focused on the PFP side again. That is very speculative, and the art side rather on a collective approach.
Yeah. And mixing your Web3 business or any kind of business and NFTs, would you consider to create an NFT project or anything related to Web3 tech in your business, or do you consider it? Yeah.
We have not even yet talked about this, so I don't know if in a couple of years, because this is the plan for us, right? We're building for the long term. We're not doing anything, and we don't want to disappear by the end of the year. So maybe, I don't know, is the short answer in the future. But as of now, we have nothing planned, and we don't want to dump anything on our community and the people that support us. So it is definitely not in the plans as of now.
Clearly, that you have a great mindset. The long-term mindset is always the best rewarding one. And we spoke a lot about NFTs. And what about crypto? Are you holding some cryptos? How is it going with cryptos?
Yeah, so funny enough, if you wanna hear the story of how I got into Bitcoin and Ethereum,
Go
it
for it.
was on my birthday's eve. My best friend came to visit me spontaneously without announcing it. I think it was a Friday or something. I was in the office. He dragged me out of the office, and we started drinking by like 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Long story short, I didn't live through my birthday, so I went to bed very early, was very drunk, tired. And then I woke up, and that friend had created a wallet for me with point something Bitcoins and Ethereums. And he was like, now you own crypto. And I was like, and why? And I don't know, massive hangover. And then within a couple of days or weeks, that basically doubled. And this is how I got hooked with crypto. And since then, I almost always only buy and hodl. And yeah,
This was 2017, right?
this was 2017
Okay.
when I started and got the first ones. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't do much of trading with shitcoins and like sub 10 top 10 coins, because the speculation there is super high, and I've seen many people get burned. I've seen people making and losing millions within a day with shitcoins, and it's crazy. So if this is the game, the roulette you want to play, be my guest. But I personally, I'm heavily invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solana a little bit, and that's mostly it. But this is no financial advice. Go out there, make your own research, and make your own statement.
Yeah. NFA. Yeah. I was saying that I was a trader, but
Hmm.
I was looking at the narrative and what's happening globally around the world and what's happening into the NFT space, what's happening into the crypto, and I like to do my moves regarding this into on how I navigate my money. My question is because I know that you read the psychology of money, and why did you read this book? Because it's super interesting, and for people who are listening this, please read this book because you are not what according to me I was not FOMO anymore regarding money or anything that is touch related to money when I read this book. So why did you read this book?
Yeah, it's a bestseller that I can recommend to everybody, and same as for you. I've had it, I think, in the shelf for over a year. I have multiple friends that read it that always were like, "Hey, Carlitos, go and read it. It's definitely a very nice and enlightening book." I finally did a couple of weeks ago. I finished it, and it's a guide how to go through life, not just how to deal with money. And it's all simple recipes, right? It's no secret sauce whatsoever, but read it, stick to it, and make sure that you understand the environment, how money is working and how it is created and all of this. It will help you hugely in your way of understanding the world. And yeah, most of the things in it.
From what I studied from you, you have a lot of good mindset and a bright soul. What will be the three books that inspired you the most and that you can advise to anyone?
There is probably How to Be Rich from John Paul Getty, who at his lifetime was the richest man alive. He divorced, I think, 3 or 4 times, had 10 plus children, and has had an amazing life, and is also the founder of Getty Images, which is probably the most known company of that family today. Read that book. It's another lesson how to live a successful life and what kind of positive or negative impacts money can have on your life, and also power. So, How to Be Rich from John Paul Getty, Psychology of Money that you mentioned already. There is another great book from Gustave Le Bon, Psychology of the Masses. It's from, I think, 1899, and it really very well explains how people interact in groups. So not the psychology of you and me, but how we interact with other people and in bigger groups. And if you understand this, it gives you also a better understanding of how the world works. And last but not least, from his nephew, Edward Bernays, there is the book called Propaganda, which is basically the early days and beginnings of PR, public relationships. And this guy traveled the world for big corporations, and he basically, through propaganda and marketing, managed to throw down governments and basically established the term banana republic that we know today. This is all funded on him, and most of the things we do in marketing today have their roots in that book. So 3 books I highly recommend.
I need to read Psychology of Masses. Yeah, I had it right. I noted it somewhere, but they did not take time to read it. Final question, Carlito. Since we are in the Web3 space, in the trenches, like we say, every day in X, what will be your utopia of Web3? Like, what you as Carlito or the Web3Ascned pod are fighting, or what do you guys want to be in the next year or the next 2 years? What will be your dream outcome?
So ideally, we have a decentralized and more connected world through crypto, through Web3 in a couple of years, meaning we have really independent financial systems based on, for example, Bitcoin and not on fiat. We have reliable government representatives and certain trust metrics that can be measured on a blockchain or stuff like this. So ideally, we move forward with the tech, but we have a human side on it, and make sure that in the end the tech doesn't control us and vice versa. So hopefully we move forward to a more decentralized, unified world.
And do you think, last question, because I like also AI, do you think AI and Web3 will merge together or will have similar use case in the future? Because I tried to question the Web3 MFers, and they're saying that AI is not possible right now into Web3 because you cannot connect wallets, you cannot sign transactions, you cannot do this and that, so it's too early yet. What's your thoughts about this?
I think we have just scratched the surface with what is possible with AI. A lot of more things will come in the future. And it is not just AI, right? Stay tuned with all the technical developments. What will quantum computer do in just a couple of years if it finally is able to be produced on a mass level? Like, all of these things paired with AI will create a new world, new technologies, new businesses. And the more you know, the better you're apt to to live in that world.
Yeah, I see. That's interesting. Do you have any last words for this podcast? Because we're reaching to 1 hour podcast, and anything you want to say to anyone who wants to start into Web3 or even digital entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, go out there. Make sure that you have skin in the game, even though it is for you, whatever it be, relatively small money. You act differently emotionally, psychologically, if you are invested in something or if you just talk about it. And then from there, make sure that you surround yourself with people like Max, and keep learning. And from there, you will find your way and your path. But don't don't fall into FOMO, right? Don't buy the next shitcoin, or don't mortgage your house because your friend told you that this coin will moon. So all of this, be careful, stay cautious, stay hungry, and educate yourself.
I love it. I love it. And for those who want to say hi to Carlito, he's on Twitter Space every weekdays from noon to 1 p.m. CET. Thank you, Carlito, for this hour with you. I appreciate it a lot. And I'll see you guys in another video and another podcast.